Our movie begins with Zuri, a 35-year-old woman who is successful in her career and owns a well-known shipping company. Zuri is a businesswoman whose past was very rough. Her father and mother were poor when she was young and couldn't afford to take care of her, so they decided to give her to another family who could look after her. She went to live with her aunt, who couldn't have children. Her new family found it strange that Zuri didn't seem to grow, and because of that, they suspected she was cursed. Over time, Zuri couldn't bear their hatred toward her as she grew up, with the family believing she was cursed and the reason for their poverty. That's why she decided she would become successful and extremely wealthy. Zuri grew up alongside a relative who shared the same ambitions as her, and even though this relative had feelings for her, Zuri told him, "Let's just be friends. It's better this way. You're my best friend, and you'll always be like a brother to me." Time passed, and Zuri opened her own shipping company. Her cousin Greg became her partner and took a lot of work off her shoulders. Another relative, Brian, appeared as well. He was responsible for all the technical aspects of the business. Even though Zuri had achieved huge success and her company had become one of the largest shipping companies in the world, with some of the most skilled employees, she still felt like something was missing. Having a son or daughter and becoming a mother, Zuri had reached the age of 35, and she was on the verge of losing the ability to have children. The problem was, she wanted to have a child without getting married. One day, she saw the daughter of one of her employees at the company, which brought out her longing for motherhood. She went to a doctor to discuss the matter. The doctor told her, "You're 35 years old now, which means you're getting older. Your egg count is decreasing, and your fertility rate is almost gone. The solution is to get married and have a child quickly, just like anyone else." But Zuri objected to the idea of marriage and wanted to find a way to have a child without getting married. The doctor came clean with her and shocked her, telling her that she's now 35, that a woman's fertility peak is in her 20s, and that all her test results were very bad. So either she finds a partner and gets pregnant by him, or she freezes her eggs until she decides to get married officially. Zuri told her, "There's no way I'm getting married or having a man in my life, doctor, and at the same time I want to be pregnant with my own child and be a mother. As for adoption, I don't believe in it at all. I want a child who's my own blood, doctor." At that point, the doctor gave her a devilish idea. She could find a donor, someone who would donate his sperm to father her child, then give up his parental rights so she could live with her child forever, just the two of them, without a father. Zuri goes to the company to talk with her close friend. She tells him what happened, and he says, "Well, I can donate for you, no problem." But Zuri rejects his offer because he's her cousin and her business partner, and he'd be in her face for the rest of her life. She wants to live alone without a husband, since she doesn't believe in the authority of a husband, marriage, and all that, and she considers marriage a failed project. Her cousin tells her, "It's your choice, but remember, you'll regret it." Zuri goes home, where Brian lives with her in the same house. Brian is a smart and very talented young man, but he's also like a brother to her. At that moment, Zuri sees a woman on TV holding a baby, and she feels a wave of longing and sadness because she's living without a baby, and her eggs and fertility are decreasing, which could mean she might not be able to get pregnant or have children at all. Zuri sits down to eat with Brian and tells him, "I'm scared I'll be alone forever, bro." Brian replies, "Why are you so concerned about having kids, cousin? This is the worst time in history to bring children into this world." Zuri says, "My dear, it's something in our genes. As women, we love having a baby to raise and take care of." Then she pretends in front of him that she's in labor, giving birth to a baby. She imagines herself pulling him out from her belly, and after a struggle, he finally comes out and she cuts the umbilical cord. Then she gives him a few pats, holds him in her arms, and says to Brian, "See how handsome and beautiful my son is? I really wish I had a son, just like any other woman in the world. Why weren't we created in a way that lets us have children without men, bro? I'm really, really, really sad." Brian pats her on the shoulder and says, "Don't worry, cousin. I'm here for you, and I'll support you in any decision you make." The next morning, she's on her way to work with Greg and Brian, talking about something completely unimportant, because what matters is what's about to happen now. Zuri spots a tall, broad-shouldered, handsome young man with smooth hair standing at a street vendor's cart buying a drink. She rushes over to him, full of excitement, gets close, and says, "Andy!" She can't believe her eyes, shocked that it's really him. Andy looks at her with charm, elegance, and style, and with him is a beautiful young woman who Brian seems to have fallen for instantly. The young woman asks them, "What what are you doing here? Are you trying to rob us or something? Then she takes Andy and walks away, while Zuri is still in disbelief. When they get back home, Greg asks her, "Who was that handsome guy you were so excited to see?" She replies, "That's Andy Johnny Sam. Bro, the one and only ex I've ever had. My first and last. We met 10 years ago. Our relationship lasted about 6 months, and we broke up when I found out he was leaving the country. Ever since then, I've hated men and didn't want to get into any relationship again. But now, after seeing Andy, I realized he's the one I need. First, we have history together. We've already been in a relationship before. Second, I don't want to meet any other men, so he's already counted as mine. Third, Andy has the traits and genes I'd love my child to inherit from him." At this point, Brian steps in and tells her that he's found Andy's address and that he's living in a place called Halupi Village. Zuri decides she's going to go see Andy. We then cut to Andy, and we learn that the young woman is actually his younger sister, named Bibi. Bibi notices a portrait Andy drew of her and asks him about it. She says, "Is this the girl you're in love with or what?" Andy replies, "I'm not in love with anyone. Don't accuse me unfairly. I'm a man with charisma, looks, and style. There's no woman out there who can truly capture my heart." Their aunt steps in and says, "Enough arguing, you two. Ever since your parents passed away and left you in my care, I can't stand seeing you fight." Andy responds, "Then tell her to stop talking, Auntie." What's clear is that Andy has a very warm and loving relationship with both his sister and his aunt. We then jump to Zuri, who arrives by boat at Halupi Village. The village is in a semi-isolated area, and after a long trip, she finally makes it there. She asks about Andy and how she can find him, and wonders why the village is so cut off. A local man explains that they're hoping to build a bridge to connect the village to the city, which will end its isolation. Meanwhile, we see the ever-handsome Andy taking off his clothes to enjoy a refreshing shower under the flowing water. Looking so good, it's dangerous. While he's enjoying the fresh stream, Zuri suddenly feels the urgent need to relieve herself. The old man tells her, "Go out in the open and handle it yourself." Sure enough, Zuri heads out into the wilderness and approaches an outhouse, but to her shock, she spots Andy in front of her. Startled and frightened, she screams, "Snake! There's a snake next to you!" She's frozen in fear, unable to move. Andy rushes to save her, but the village men arrive at the worst possible moment, finding the two of them in a compromising position. A little later, we see them walking across the bridge, and Andy apologizes to Zuri. She tells him, "You've grown up and become a man, Andy?" He asks, "Wait, you knew me before?" She says, "It's me, Zuri. Don't you remember me?" That's when he tells her he has lost his memory, leaving Zuri shocked because her mission just got a lot harder. That evening, she sits with Andy and his family and tells them that she used to be his girlfriend, but they broke up due to certain circumstances. Andy looked nervous and decided to walk away, leaving his aunt to start questioning Zuri. She said, "If you really were his girlfriend, then tell me, how old is he? What's his full name? And every detail that would prove you two were together." Zuri answered every question successfully, and the aunt was convinced. "Looks like you two would have been the perfect couple," the aunt said. "But the real question is, what brought you back?" Zuri replied, "I came back because I still love him. I couldn't forget him even after 10 years. I don't want him to be my ex anymore. I want to erase the ex and make him my boyfriend again," the aunt told her. "Unfortunately, that's going to take some time. Andy's changed since he lost his memory. You'll need to be patient, fight for it, and convince him to love you again." Of course, Zuri, who had been hoping Andy's heart would instantly soften, saw her dream crumble. Andy might not fall for her now that she's older. That night, Zuri tells her friends what happened, though the internet keeps cutting out and the call is a struggle. Greg says, "Girl, forget about that situation you're in and just come back. I'll help you get pregnant." But Zuri responds, "I'm staying here. I'll try to make him fall for me again, get pregnant by him, and then leave." The next morning, Zuri goes down to the kitchen to make herself something to drink. Andy's aunt joins her and says, "I support you and I encourage your relationship with Andy, but I'm warning you, girl, I don't want him going through what his parents went through. They split up and his father took his own life because of it. Ever since then, Andy's been sad and emotionally scarred when it comes to relationships, so you'd better protect his heart, or I'll make you see stars in broad daylight." A little later, Andy is holding a meeting with the villagers to discuss farming progress, how to achieve self-sufficiency and protect their crops. Zuri leans over to the woman sitting next to her and asks, "Isn't the government supposed to handle things like this?" The woman replies, "Honey, we're in an isolated town. Officials can barely reach us here." The old man added, "We don't even have shipping companies willing to come out here." Zuri noticed how tightly knit the people of Halupi Village were. Andy was heading out to work in the fields, and Zuri asked if she could go with him so she could start weaving her little schemes. She told him she was so ready. Let's go now. Out in the middle of the crops, Zuri asked Andy to teach her how to farm. He told her he was worried about her being under the hot sun, but she brushed it off and said, "Forget the farming. Let's dance, bro." Everyone in the field ended up having a fun, lighthearted time while planting together. Later, back from the fields, Zuri pretended to cook in front of Andy, then faked an injury so Andy would kiss the boo-boo and make it better. While Zuri was walking with Bibi, another girl told Bebe, "You're going to grow up single and alone because of this whole macho, male-dominated lifestyle." The words hit Zuri right in the heart, and she snapped at the girl before going off to Andy. That night, Zuri tried to get Andy to fall for her, but he was a man of morals and self-control, still not understanding exactly what Zuri was trying to do. The next morning, the townsfolk gathered to discuss a problem with birds and pests. Zuri told them she had a temporary solution, then dressed up like a scarecrow and stood right in the middle of the field. When Andy came to her, she faked feeling faint so he'd feel sympathy for her. As usual, while Zuri was hanging out with Baby, she asked, "Why are you so closed off to romance, Baby?" Bibi replied, "Because any couple eventually breaks up. Real love itself doesn't last, Mama. My parents split up, and they loved each other, so I just cut things off with love before it starts." Zuri asked, "Well, what do you think about me and Andy?" Baby said, "You're nice, but I'm not sure you'd make a good wife. Anyway, as long as you're not planning to have kids, then fine, go for the relationship." Zuri told her, "But life just isn't right without children. I really want to have a son." Bebe replied, "So you'll have kids, then get divorced, and your children will end up like me and Andy, orphans without a mom or dad." Their conversation was cut short when someone shouted that a new visitor had arrived in town. Zuri saw it was Brian and asked, "What brought you here?" He replied, "Instead of saying, 'Thank God you're safe,' and asking about my trip," Zuri introduced Brian, her relative, to everyone there, and also introduced him to Andy. But Brian was there for something else entirely. He kept searching until he found her, Bibi, the young girl he'd fallen for at first sight. Bibi refused to shake his hand while he tried to impress her with his charm, but that kind of thing didn't work on her. She went to her aunt and asked, "Why is he acting like that, Auntie?" Later, at the house, Brian told Zuri he had come because of the girl he loved. Zuri was angry at him, so he asked, "Why do you hate love so much?" She replied, "Because love doesn't last, darling brother-in-law." Brian said, "Anyway, this letter is from your doctor." When Zuri read it, she realized she didn't have much time left and needed to finish her mission as quickly as possible. Their conversation was interrupted by a woman screaming. She was in labor. Childbirth was one of the most terrifying moments imaginable for any woman or girl, and Zuri stood there, frozen with fear, unable to imagine herself in the woman's place. Everyone present was tense and frightened by the delivery, but finally, the aunt delivered the baby safely and placed it in Zuri's arms. Zuri was overjoyed, her longing for a baby of her own showing clearly. Even the aunt said, "You'd make a great mother," Zuri replied, "and you'd make a great grandmother." The next morning, Andy told Zuri, "You know, carrying a child really does suit you." Zuri was delighted by his words, and Andy teased Bebe about the young man, Brian. Andy called out to Brian while he was chopping wood and said, "When you swing the axe, you've got to give it a strong, solid hit. Imagine the girl you love is watching you. You want to get her attention, bro. Go for that rugged charm." A little later, Zuri went to Andy while he was sketching a house. He told her, "This is my dream home. I hope to build it here in the village soon with my future wife." Zuri told him the village was beautiful, but still missing a few things. Andy explained they were happy with their simple life here, but Zuri could tell he wasn't entirely satisfied. She suggested she could help make their village a better place, adding, "You all deserve more than this. That's why I've come up with a plan that'll put you on the map." The very next day, Zuri had laptops and communication devices shipped in through her company. Even Brian went to give Bebe a small bouquet of lovely flowers to show his admiration. Andy was just about to smack him with a slipper, but pulled back at the last second. After some time, Zuri announced to everyone, "We now have Wi-Fi." The next morning, she spent some time with Andy, and later that night, she told the villagers she had signed a deal with a construction company. The company would start building a bridge to connect the village to the big city, making coming and going much easier than relying on boats and the like. Not long after, a romantic moment bloomed between Brian and Bibi, only to be interrupted by the aunt, all under the watchful eyes of Zuri and Andy. That afternoon, while the men were together, Andy said to Brian, "I've noticed you hanging around my sister, bro. You into her or what?" An older man joined in, talking about love, saying, "Love is a feeling, not just empty words." Andy then decided to give him a shave and told them, "All right, let's get to work." That night, the aunt called out for Zuri to come outside. There, she found Andy holding a plant and asking her to listen to the super cool song he was going to sing tonight. Zuri joked that it had better not be a marriage proposal. Andy began singing his super cool song for the night, expressing his love for her, how she had captured his heart and taken him back to the old days, back when he had planned to close his heart for good, but finally decided to open it again. It was clear that Zuri felt awkward. She didn't want marriage or any formal commitment. She wanted to be free without a husband. Just give me a child and go, man. When Andy finished, Baby told Brian, "I'd like to hear you express your feelings for me." Brian replied, "I'm officially proposing to you, Bibe." Andy also turned to Zuri and said, "It would make me happy and honored to propose to you, so I hope you'll give me your sweet yes." Even though Zuri didn't believe in the idea, she agreed, only so she wouldn't ruin Brian and Bibi's engagement. When the festival ended, the aunt sat down to talk with Zuri. She told her, "You're going to be a wonderful mother, Zuri. I'm the happiest woman in the world right now because you're going to marry Andy." Zuri asked the aunt how Andy had lost his memory. The aunt said, "I don't know the full story, but after he came back from Spain, he had an accident. With our limited resources, we couldn't give him the treatment he needed. We struggled, but you came at just the right time. After you arrived, the old Andy began to return. The old Andy was a dreamer, ambitious, and thanks to you, he's been changing for the better." Zuri felt sad, afraid she might break both her own heart and Andy's, and knowing she truly didn't want to marry. The next morning, Greg said to Zuri, "So, you're marrying Andy?" Zuri replied, "Honestly, I feel guilty. I told him yes, but I have no intention of getting married. Look, since he proposed, I'm thinking I should take what I came for and leave the village." When Zuri saw Andy, she started teasing him, sweet-talking and acting a bit flirtatious in a playful but slightly mischievous way. Andy said to her, "In that case, why don't you come with me to my house?" The surprise came when Zuri stepped inside and saw that Andy had drawn an enormous number of portraits of her. She exclaimed, "Oh my God, all of these are me? Do you love me that much?" "No, this isn't for me. I don't want love." Andy replied, "Please, let me prove to you that I deserve to be your husband and your lover." Just as Zuri was about to take what she came for, he said, "Wait, let me get you a drink." When he returned with the drink, he told her, "I've been drawing these portraits of you since before you came to the village. Your face has always been in my mind, so I kept sketching you." At that moment, we see a flashback explaining how they broke up. After they graduated from college, Andy called her to tell her he was going abroad for work. Zuri broke up with him immediately because she wanted the man she married to stay by her side. Andy told her, "Ever since then, I had an accident because I was so devastated over losing you. After I lost my memory, the only thing I could remember was your face. Your face was the one familiar thing that kept appearing in my mind. Even in the dark, your face was my only light." Zuri felt sad because she didn't want Andy to fall in love with her again. So she got up to leave, and Andy followed her outside. He asked, "What happened, Zuri?" She told him, "You had that accident because of me after I broke up with you. And after that, I burned every picture and anything that reminded me of you, bro. And I'll tell you something else. I don't love you, and I don't want to marry you. I saw you recently when I was searching for a donor, and I thought you'd be better than a stranger. But you want marriage, and I don't. If you agree to marry me for just one day and then donate, fine. My eggs are dying, and I might not be able to have children in the future. So please, agree to marry me for just one day, and then we'll both go our separate ways. I'm not asking you for anything. No engagement, no wedding, no reception hall. I'll cover all the expenses myself, and I can even give you money if you want." Andy replied, "Whoa there, Missy. So you're doing all this just for yourself? You just want to have a baby, and I'm basically just a case to you?" Zuri shot back, "No, buddy, wake up. Because of you, I started hating love, and I don't want to know any other man. All I need right now is a baby. I just want to be pregnant, boy, girl, whatever." That's when Andy hit her with the knockout punch. "I hope your daughter will be proud of you. Proud of a mother who broke other people's hearts. Do you know you're selfish? You've got a frozen heart that only thinks about yourself, Zuri." Then he left, while Zuri stood there, heartbroken, crying without even realizing the tears were streaming down. The next morning, we see him tossing his drawings under his feet, signaling that he no longer loves Zuri. Meanwhile, Zuri visited her eccentric doctor who said, "All right, so you've decided to freeze your eggs. That means you're putting marriage and relationships on hold. Fine, no problem." At work, Zuri wrapped up a major deal, the official launch of the bridge project connecting Halloween Village to the big city. The project director announced, "We thank Miss Zuri and her company, because without them, this project would have been impossible." Brian went to Baby to confess his love, but Auntie stepped in and took him away. Soon, everyone left, except Zuri and Andy. They shared a nice little conversation, during which Andy told her he was going to travel abroad. Now that he was confident Halloween was in safe hands, he wanted to start a new adventure and meet new people. Zuri Zuri, her eyes carrying a touch of love for Andy, encouraged him and told him she was happy for him. She admitted that while she had felt something for him, she decided to put marriage aside for now. Andy said, "As for me, I'm going to live my life and marry someone who actually wants to live, unlike you, Miss Complicated." The film ends with the two exchanging mutual, respectful glances, full of decency and dignity. The story is over, and each will return to their old life. Ah, yes! A true moral of the story kind of film. And that's the end of the summary. Farewell.